It's time for today's travel and cruise industry news. With the latest from travel and cruises around the world, here's your host, Chillie Falls.
Hey, good morning and welcome to the Monday. This is Tuesday. What am I thinking? Tuesday travel and cruise industry news for the 7th day of February 2023. My sister Jean's birthday, as a matter of fact. All right, we got a bunch of headlines this morning. MSC Musica breaks moorings in Rio. Shore power for our friends on the other side of the pond in Portsmouth. Maybe some shore power for Port Everglades as well. 3-day Liberty of the Seas cruise canceled. Hot Air Tom, get your checkbook ready. We got a resort for sale. Princess expands fitness offerings. The earthquake toll has surpassed 5,000 now. Expected to go up considerably still. Coast Guard opens an investigation. That and a lot more here at 11 o'clock this morning. Back to my normal time after the best part of a week doing crazy hours and then have to miss the show altogether yesterday. By the way, folks, today's National Fettuccine Alfredo Day. I can deal with that. We'll be going out for my sister's birthday tonight, so I might not be for dinner tonight, but I like fettuccine Alfredo. I think we're going to a place where I normally get a filet, but that's yet to be decided. If you're listening by the podcast, you can always access the podcast via my blog, which is accessadventure.net, or wherever you get your podcast from. Just search for Travel and Cruise Industry News, and up pops the Fat Travel Guy. Anytime you're listening, you can always hop over to the video feed. Just go to the description of the podcast, and there'll be a link. So, a couple things to mention this morning before we get to the news. The group cruise that Justin, Mr. Bucket List, and I are hosting on May the 1st. The deadline for booking is today, unfortunately. I just found that out. So if you're thinking about it and want to at least get your name in the hat, call the number and talk to the people and at least get some money in if you are interested in going. We've got a nice little group getting on its way, but a big push here today. We'll come up with some numbers hopefully by tomorrow. Anyway, so I'm so far behind in my work, not only from the week, and it was such a good week. I got to spend some time with Yo-Yo, Brooklyn in the house, Eddie, and Sonny, and Sharon, and then all the vloggers that were there, Don and Tony, and everybody. I just, nautical nurse Nancy, but just got to spend some time with so many of them. And it was such an enjoyable week for me. Chance to meet these guys, spend some time with them, develop a relationship with quite a few of them now. So it was just a great week. Pretty good cruise too. I'm working on my accessibility report. I will tell you this. I had an over an hour meeting with the special needs coordinator and was able to get one major concession, which is that they didn't think he could get it done for this current cruise, but maybe by the next cruise of the breakaway from New Orleans, Scoot-Around will be allowed to deliver the scooters at the curb. So they're gonna eliminate the deliver to the cabins and the pushing and with wheelchairs. And it's so much easier that way. Goodness gracious. So I was really pleased with that. Quite a few things that the breakaway does right. A couple of things that I'd like to see them change. But overall, they're going to get a pretty decent score. But I had a really good meeting. The gentleman took a lot of notes, said that he would pass the information on, was very gracious for the way I handled it. I don't go into those meetings to complain. I go in those meetings to make suggestions, and I also balance it. I tell them what they do right, tell them what they're doing wrong, tell them what I think they should do, what I realize they can't do. But I still make mention of it, like the pools. And one of the things that they did right, they had a lift chair for a hot tub, specifically for a hot tub. You guys know my personal feelings about lift chairs, but a lot of my brethren out there use them. And so they could get into a hot tub on breakaway. There wasn't one in the main pool, which I find a little disturbing. And deck 17 on the breakaway was totally inaccessible. They did have a chair lift from deck 16 to deck 17, which would take a person up. But what good would that do me? There's no way of getting my scooter from deck 16 to deck 17. Or somebody that's in a chair. You can get the body up, but you can't get the chair up. So deck 17 is totally inaccessible to any of us with a disability. And I pointed that out to him, and he's scratching his head. He says, I never thought of that. I said, that's because people that design these ships don't have somebody with accessibility issues sitting down on the drawing board and telling them what they need to do. But anyway, I'll have a complete report out. I don't know if it'll get done today because it's a busy day. Today, tomorrow. The other thing I was trying to do this morning, I was trying to book a flight on JetBlue from San Diego to Fort Lauderdale coming back from my Panama Canal cruise in March. I tried it twice on the computer, twice on my phone app. I still can't get the thing booked. So I'm going to have to give up the ghost and call them, I guess, and wait on for hours for a human. But we'll do that anyway here shortly. All right. Back after this.
Do you have a bad back, bad hips, bad knees, or any other mobility issues? Think about Scootaround. For scooters, walkers, wheelchairs, even oxygen needs, delivered right to your cabin. Scootaround for all your mobility needs on your upcoming cruise.
And again, once again, the Scootaround folks, they were just awesome. The scooter, of course, on the ship was great. They also gave me a scooter for 3 days in New Orleans. I did not even request it for the 1 day after the cruise. I just thought that would be too much to ask them to deliver a scooter to another hotel just for 1 day. Probably should have at least asked, because that hotel was so big. I had to do so much walking. Oh man, I was totally worn out. So, I mean, I had my walker with me, yes, but still a lot of steps because it was huge just to get from the front door to the desk to the elevator, then to my room. Man. So anyway, if you're going to be in a hotel someplace and you need a scooter or a chair or oxygen needs or any of those things, call Scootaround. All right, our lead story today comes from MSC Musica. The MSC Musica was moored at Port Mauá, I believe it is, in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, when an exceptionally powerful wind caused the ship's lines to part and she drifted away from her moorings. The ship quickly restored the mooring lines with the assistance of a tugboat. No injuries have been reported. Video footage of the incident showed dockside warehouses with significant roof damage from the wind, as well as the ship drifting a good distance away from the pier, with the gangways dangling in the water. The forward lines remained intact, keeping the ship's bow secure. At the time of the accident, MSC Musica was on a 9-day South American voyage round trip from Buenos Aires. The itinerary started on January 31st and ends on Wednesday. I'll be back with the rest of the news after a quick break from one of our network sponsors. All right, this is our friends over in Portsmouth on the other side of the pond. Portsmouth International Port's plans to become the most sustainable port in the UK took a step closer to being fully shore power ready by 2025. The port is officially on track to become the leading shore power port in the UK. Following confirmation, it will accept an offer from Scottish and Southern Energy Network to secure an extra power supply. In under 2 years, the port will be able to support multiple vessels that have the capacity to plug in when they are alongside the berth, thus reducing harmful emissions from running engines, meeting the net carbon neutral ambitions ahead of the 2030 target of the government. Brittany Ferries, who has a couple of new hybrid ships, is expected to operate from Portsmouth starting in 2025. Portsmouth International Port is expecting a minimum of 100 shore power ready cruise ship calls by 2026. By 2030, there is an expectation from the industry trade body CLIA that all cruise ships will have to be shore power compliant. So congratulations to our friend at Portsmouth. They're going to give Southampton a run for their money. Sounds like. Now, speaking of shore power, this is our friends down at Port Everglades. Of course, that's Fort Lauderdale to the uninformed. Port Everglades recently completed a study to add shore power to the port's 8 cruise terminals and has taken delivery of the final report, according to a press release. The study was performed by Moffett Nickel, a global infrastructure advisory firm working in cooperation with Florida Power and Light, Carnival Corporation, Disney Cruise Line, and the Royal Caribbean Group. The port said that the comprehensive analysis assessed the capacity of the existing electrical grid and identified the necessary infrastructure upgrades required to deliver shore power to the diverse cruise ships calling in Port Everglades. The recommended plan is capable of delivering up to 16 megawatts of electricity simultaneously to each of the 8 terminals. I expect we will hear more on that in the coming weeks. It's tough when you've been eagerly looking forward to a cruise, only to find out it's been canceled. Unfortunately, Royal Caribbean has informed guests booked on Liberty of the Seas sailing of April 21st that their cruise will not sail. The 3-day Bahamas cruise was set to depart from Fort Lauderdale with stops in Nassau and Perfect Day at Coco Cay before returning to Fort Lauderdale. The cruise line has expressed regret and inconvenience caused to the guests in a letter while offering alternative options. Royal Caribbean provided several options to guests booked on board the canceled sailing. The first option is to rebook one of 2 4-night itineraries sailing to Perfect Day Coco Cay and Nassau on either Liberty of the Seas or Freedom of the Seas. The second option is to rebook any other Royal Caribbean sailing, including a future cruise credit of $50 for interior, ocean view, and balconies, $100 for suites, plus an additional $25 each for third or fourth guests to spend, of course, on board. The third option is to cancel and receive a full refund for any paid portion of the cruise fare, prepaid amenities, and a future cruise credit. Royal Caribbean will also cover up to $200 per guest for domestic flight changes, or up to $400 per guest for international flight changes for guests choosing option 1 or 2. I hate that. This is, by the way, what they said. The reason why is for some maintenance. 3 days maintenance. I just, come on, cruise lines. You got to schedule your dry docks. You got to publish a schedule and keep to it. Aggravating. All right, hot air time. Get your checkbook out. The waterfront resort on the island of Elbow Key is on the market. The Crystal Waters and Villas on the southern end of the island listed for Christie's for the bargain price of $8.8 million. So, hot air time, what you need to do, get your checkbook out and call Christie's and make a bid on it. You can put Cindy on the island as the queen. She would take over that island and not have to run around all over the damn world with you in South Africa and up the Nile River and whatever. Cindy will probably want to kill me now, too. Anyway, just thought I'd throw that one out. All right, the next story has to do, some of us are really into fitness on cruise ships. Some of us. I didn't say me, folks. Some of us. Princess Cruises is preparing to soon launch its expansive fitness class offerings on its ships. I'm going on a princess ship here in about 2 months, including workouts from popular fitness brands, including Pure Bear, Yoga 6, and Stretch Lab. Starting February 20th, guests who have purchased the inclusive Princess Plus and Princess Premier packages will enjoy complimentary onboard workouts from several leading studios from Exponential Fitness, which is the largest global franchisor of boutique fitness brands like the 3 mentioned above. Additional brands will debut on board ahead of the summer season, including Club Pilates, Cycle Bar, and Stride Fitness. And of course, that's right up my alley. The Princess Plus package will include 2 complimentary fitness classes per cruise, while the Premier package includes unlimited classes. Fitness. A lot of us think about fitness a lot. I try to do some laps around the track on every cruise ship. On my scooter, of course. So much for fitness. All right. This has been an absolutely horrible story for our friends over in Turkey. And the reason I'm including this briefly in the show today is because, there's cruise ports in Turkey that were affected by this as well. Not as some of the bad areas, but certainly had some damages. The death toll surged past 5,000 early this morning after a powerful pre-dawn earthquake and series of strong aftershocks collapsed thousands of buildings along the Turkish-Syrian border. The Geological Survey said the magnitude 7.8 quake struck the very early morning yesterday, about 20 miles from the city of Gaziantep. Hours later, a 7.5 magnitude quake struck more than 60 miles away. An untold number were believed trapped under the rubble of thousands of collapsed buildings, and the injury and death toll is expected to rise as rescue workers continue digging through the wreckage. Our thoughts are with all the folks over there in Turkey and in Syria. Just an awful, awful situation. All right. The last story today. In the first few weeks of the Antarctic cruise season, the U.S. Coast Guard received reports of several tragic incidents that have taken place on onboard expedition cruise ships operating in Antarctica. The agency announced it has begun investigating the accidents. 3 expedition cruise ships have seen tragic incidents happen in a 2-week period, which caused 4 fatalities. 2 U.S. citizens who died when an inflatable boat from a Portuguese-flagged passenger vessel, World Explorer, capsized near Elephant Island. Another U.S. citizen was injured when an inflatable boat from a Norwegian-flagged passenger vessel, Viking Polaris, sustained a keel bladder failure near Demoy Point. In another incident, just one day later, 1 U.S. citizen died and 4 others were injured when a large wave in the Drake Passage struck the Viking Polaris. Additionally, a U.S. citizen aboard the MV Plancius died from an injury sustained on board. Oceanwide Expeditions operate this ship. All 4 individuals were U.S. nationals, leading the U.S. Coast Guard to initiate a thorough investigation. Teams from the U.S. Coast Guard, NTSB, that's National Safety Transportation and Safety Board, and the lead investigative states, the Netherlands, Portugal, and Norway, have deployed to Ushuaia, Argentina, to commence comprehensive safety investigations. The ultimate aim is to improve marine safety and prevent similar incidents from happening in the future, not to find blame where sometimes blame just isn't there. So, Antarctica. And I admit that's on my bucket list. One of the things I've never been able to afford. But one of these days, maybe. So, all right, we're going to go over and see who's in the chat room today. Probably fussing at me for something, which is be fine. Yo, Brooklyn in the house. Hey, Eddie. Chillie, I'm homesick like a dog with a cold. I was, it's always good to get home, but I'm ready to go again already. I mean, immediately change that, think about going again. So, but I mean, my sister's birthday, so I couldn't do something, right back to back as much as I wanted to. So, but anyway, it was a good cruise. Cindy's with us. The Mask Collector, how you doing? Good morning. Carol's here. Dennis is here. Hi, Dennis. Eddie says good morning to everybody. So good to see Eddie. Musica. You know what I said? Musica? I thought that's how I pronounced it, Dennis. At least when I was practicing my script this morning, that's the way I said it. Musica. I might have said Musica. Musica. I got you. Anyway, Katie's here. Home with a bad sinus infection. Well, that's not good, Katie. Sorry to hear you're sick. Eddie and Katie also. He saw both. Eddie said he saw both the lift chairs. Pretty cool. Nikki's with us. Good morning, all. Good healing to those who are not feeling well. Totally agree, Nick. Of course, I go through a series of tests when I go on cruises for the safety of my household. So I took a test when I got to the hotel Sunday, and I took a test actually when I got off the plane in Richmond before I drove home yesterday, and then I will do a test Friday, 5 days after I got off the cruise. That's my set pattern, just in case, because with my sister and brother-in-law who are older than I am, trying to protect them against anything that I might come up with. However, I feel terrific, unlike the last time I got home with no voice and coughing and hacking and Eddie, make a ginger turmeric, lemon honey tea, peel and chop fresh raw ginger, and steep in hot water for 10 to 15 minutes. Add a teaspoon to a tablespoon of ground turmeric. I did that and it worked. I can honestly say that was one of the things that helped me a lot. Add juice from a lemon and raw honey to sweeten. Drink 4 cups throughout the day. I may not have done 4, but I did 3. But it definitely helped. Trader Joe's sells the ground turmeric, and Asian supermarkets usually have the best price for ginger, or if you have a Patel Brothers nearby. Sunny's with us. There's Sunny. I love being with Sunny. I enjoy her immensely. So we had a little representation there on the vloggers extravaganza. Eddie's head's about to blow up. Sonny has a cold too. Wow. It was cold. I found the ship cold also, even when we were in, the hot weather down, it wasn't killer hot, but down in Central America, I find the air conditioning on the ship to be terribly cold, which is why I wore a hoodie almost all the time. Not to mention, it was cold in New Orleans when I first got there. Got a little bit better towards sail away. And it was a little nippy when we got back in there this Sunday. So, yeah. Anyway, yeah. I hope that's just colds that you guys have. Eat fresh raw pineapple to drain sinuses. Dennis, it's interesting that you mentioned raw pineapple. For the biggest part of my life, I was allergic to pineapple. I could occasionally have some canned, but raw, I was terribly allergic to it. That changed since I had chemo. Now, I realized that you wouldn't think chemo would have any effect on something like that. But I'm now able to eat pineapple again. And I haven't eaten pineapple since I was like maybe 9 or 10 years old. And my throat closed up from the allergic reaction. So, yeah. Now I can eat pineapple and I like it. So I had some on this cruise, as a matter of fact. A number of things that have pineapple in it that I never could eat, which I now can eat, like ham and pineapple pizza, for instance. Eddie, you going to the doctor? I'm okay with just a cold so far. I got in from breakaway. How is Alice? Sonny wants to know. Sonny says, I got to go to the store today for fresh pineapple. And by the way, folks, by the time I got to Virginia, the snow and ice was all gone, melted. It was like, in the 50s yesterday and up into the 60s. A little colder today. It's going to be just barely 50 today. But still, that's better than snowing. Also good started last night. Change of weather. Canceled my sonogram for tomorrow. Cardio. Therapy on Thursday. Sonny, the science behind it is the bromelain enzyme in fresh raw pineapple. Sonny says fresh pineapple is so good I can take that medicine easily. Yeah, that is one of the better medical things for us. Kenneth's with us. Hey, Kenneth. Welcome back, he says. Thank you, Kenneth. Prayers for Turkey and Syria. I know we have problems with governments over there. But man, I certainly feel sorry for those people. And my goodness. And they've had this before. They've had earthquakes that killed 30,000 before. Nikki says, we went out to Antarctica on a princess ship. No expeditions for me. The view was magnificent from the balcony and deck. Feel better. Oh, excuse me. I hate to be yawning in your face, folks. I'm still not caught up on sleep. I didn't sleep a lot on this cruise. I had too much going. Amy's with us. I'm here late as usual. That's okay, Amy. Yes, Musica. Not Musica. Musica. All right. Musica. All right. I know that one, Dennis, and I must have been just brushed right over it without thinking. Is there another Vlogger extravaganza? Do you think you will go? There will be. The coordinators, the guys behind this thing, like Tony, Don was really not part of the planning. EEC Travels, several others that were really the forces behind it. Josh Slocum. They will take about a month, let things settle in, have a chance to think through the week, what they did right, what they did wrong, what they'd like to change, and then start getting together to figure out a date for the next version. And yes, I would do it again. They're also thinking some way that they can include some of the European folks as well. So yeah, I would do it again. It was a absolutely phenomenal week for me from a lot of standpoints. Contacts, new people watching this channel, getting a chance to spend some time with the big time creators that have achieved what I hope to achieve. And to pick their brains. This was the kind of situation where, I could sit down with Tony and Don. I did both actually, and Corey over a cocktail, and just chat about what works for them, why they do things certain way, why I do things differently, or the things that I need to do likewise. It was just a great week. And then they had formal sessions that had Q&A and stuff that they did a really good job, I thought. 59 in Atlanta. That's too cold for Atlanta. Add jalapeno slices to the pineapple and ham pizza. The one of the pizzas that I used to for my pizza review of the breakaway, I haven't gotten it posted yet, but it's in the works. Was ham and jalapeno. It didn't have pineapple, but yes, and it was hot. It was really spicy. So that's one of the slices that I reviewed for my pizza review for the breakaway. Pretty good. Not the best pizza at sea, but not bad. I mean, it was definitely, it's better than some. Still doesn't come up. I mean, I like Sorrento's a lot. So probably the good Sorrento's is still, to me, the best. But, I mean, pizzas. I like pizza. I don't really care where it's from. I eat pizza on every ship at some point in time. I think Don stepped in to help Tony when Jenny was forced to stay home because of the death in her family. I agree, and it was great to have Don there. And he joked about the fact that he hadn't been in on the planning, but that he would be back for the next one. I got to spend some time with Don. Of course, Don and I are both cancer survivors, and that creates an automatic bond with anybody that has been through what any of us that has survived have been through. And that bond will never, ever be broken. So it was good to spend some time with him as well. I mean, and, I've been perfectly honest. I was honest with him about the things that I disagree on how he and Tony both do things. There's some things that I don't care for and things that I do care for. And they got a chance to tell me why they do what they do. And it was just a great give and take kind of situation. Corey, from midships, I spent about 2 hours with him one evening. I guess it was evening. Yeah. And basically dissecting my channel and why he grew so much faster than I've grown, because he and I started about the same time. So that was just, I mean, I have pages of notes on my phone that I was taking when I've talked to these guys. So am I going to implement some massive new changes immediately? No, but I'm going to be implementing some changes. That I'll promise you, because they were terrific ideas. So highlight of the cruise was seeing Chillie and Eddie and Alice. I agree too. I love it. Watching Chillie do the show live. Yeah, she was there for one of the shows. So terrific week. No, they're not who you want to emulate. Rubbish. Yeah, I mean, I understand that because I have a different philosophy. But still, Dennis, from the practical standpoint of growing in this business, with any rate of speed, there are things that everybody that has grown exponentially has done. And some of those things I'm going to have to try if I ever want to get to the point that this becomes a legitimate business that pays for me to go on cruises. I mean, getting $100 to $175 a month is not cutting it when you're paying. You know what you pay for cruises. I don't get discounts from cruise lines unless I happen to get a special offer. It's like a casino offer or something. It's the only time I get any kind of deal. Just to book a cruise and go do their accessibility review, they have nothing to do with that. So We'll see. I mean, now there are some people out there that are starting to get sponsorships besides me. I mean, obviously, Scoot Around sponsors, but I mean, yes, that saves me a tremendous amount of money, but it doesn't put any money in my pocket. That's not the deal I have with them. But so, yeah, there's, you know, they make humongous checks. You know, give me $2,000-3,000 a month, and then I know I can pay for a cruise every month and be satisfied with that without, you know, and going through my son's inheritance and my grandkids' college funds and those kind of things. Cindy says, so glad you're feeling good, Chillie. Don said he got a GI bug or food poisoning. Ah, goodness. Well, I hope that that's all it is, folks, and there wasn't some kind of outbreak on this cruise, because we were all in a cluster a bunch of times. Eddie says, thanks, Sonny. We enjoyed meeting you, and also in the flesh with also Chillie. Yes, thank you. I totally agree. Only use a few jalapeno slices on each slice of pizza. Oh, yeah, like 2 is plenty for me. I don't, I eat jalapenos, but I'm not going to eat jalapenos until I'm sweating bullets. Best pizza was La Cucina. Oh my gosh, it was heaven. I've had La Cucina's pizza, and I agree. I didn't have pizza when I went to La Cucina. But I have to tell you a La Cucina story. So I had, some crazy appetizer. What was it? It was salmon. I forget the name of it, but anyway, it was a salmon with, raw salmon dish for an appetizer. And then I got an appetizer lasagna. Now I'm thinking that's a nice just a little bit of lasagna, which they called it appetizer lasagna. There was also an entree lasagna. So I ordered the appetizer lasagna and then ossobuco, which I like. That was my order. The lasagna came and was the size of a brick. I'm talking about, folks, a full brick and about that thick. It was more than I would eat as an entree at any time in my life. And I loved lasagna. It was huge. And then I had the ossobuco coming right after that. Wow. Unbelievable. I didn't have pizza this time from La Cucina, but I have before. Always check the bottom of the pizza for doneness. Absolutely, I know. I do that. A reminder that there are successful cruise bloggers who don't do what those clowns do. Yeah, I know. And there are some other people out there to emulate that I have not investigated the way I have investigated others. So yes, I'm aware of that and want to look at some of the other people that are successful. So, did you bring pizza back to your stateroom to enjoy later? No, I did not. I could have, but I didn't. Ossobuco. Ossobuco. Oh, I said ossobuco. Ossobuco. All right, Dennis, you keep trying, and I'll keep hoping to remember some of these things. One of these days, maybe. All right, guys, that's going to wrap me up for today. Let's see. Do I have any thoughts for the week? The Cruise Amigos will be back Thursday like normal. Amigo John is sitting down today with the zoning folks up there in whatever county he's in on his store. Hope that goes well for him. Um, I don't think there's any announcements this week. My next cruise is Enchantment of the Seas out of Baltimore, which, our friend Kevin will be on that from 30 and a Wake Up. And also Janie, that was one of my table mates for meals all week. She's part of the JJ Cruise family, and I hung out with them a lot this week. So she'll be on that ship as well. Dennis says, just to welcome home, Chillie, and lovely to see everyone in chat. I totally agree. I'm glad to be back, glad to spend a little time at home, but I'll be ready to go again here in a couple weeks. So that's going to wrap me up for today, everybody. As always, appreciate the thumbs up. That helps the channel out a lot. If you haven't subscribed, please consider doing so. Take this as my invitation to join us. And anytime you watch the show, please feel free to join in the chat room. Just tell them who you are, and you can fuss back and forth about anything or fuss at me or whatever you want to do. We have a nice active chat, and I love that. So have a great day, you guys. I'll see everybody back here tomorrow, or, something major happens today. I could be back again live at any time. So anyway, folks, have a terrific day. As always, stay safe, stay healthy, think about cruising, and hopefully one day soon we'll all get together on the high seas. Have a terrific day, y'all. See you tomorrow.
I regularly post videos on all facets of the travel and cruise industry, so if you like to keep up with the latest in cruise ships, ports of call, cruises themselves, Chillie chats, and travel and cruise industry news, just hit the little subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner, hit the bell notification so you'll be notified when a new video is up or we go live. This video was produced by Chillie's Cruises.